We got the U.S. Open Cup coming up next week. And it's Sacramento versus Kansas City and New York Red Bulls versus Orlando. And I'm not going to say who I believe is going to win, but I'm going to state who I want to see in the championship. And I want to see Red Bulls Sacramento. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see Kansas City. I've seen enough of Kansas City in the MLS this season. Now I know they get a different type of spirit when they're in the US Open Cup. I believe this is the spirit of Patrick Mahomes, that championship spirit. This is one thing I do respect about Kansas City. Kansas City has realized, they're like saying, look, we know we're not going to win the Supporter Shield this year. And we know we're not going to make it to the MLS Cup playoffs, which means we're not going to win the MLS Cup. But what we can do is win a US Open Cup. So we can have something to present to the owner. And so when we have our exit interviews with the ownership group, we can say, look, it was a tough season, but even though we had a lot of injuries, we were still able to win something. We were able to become the national champion. So that's a good storyline for Kansas City. But for Sacramento, this is bigger. See, for Sacramento, this is not only about winning a national championship. You're out to show the MLS that they're making a big mistake by focusing on Vegas rather than focusing on them. This is to show those two billionaire owners that pulled out, and Ron Burkle and Meg Whitman, that they made a big mistake. Now I'm gonna talk more about this next week. Then the New York Red Bulls. You got some catching up to do. Because not only did NYCFC win a MLS Cup before you, they also become more valuable than you. And you've been around longer than them. So New York Red Bulls, it's a lot on the line. You're in danger of becoming ignored. The only thing that is saving you right now is NYCFC not having their own stadium. If NYCFC had their own stadium by now, New York Red Bulls, you'll be dead. You'll be dead to New Yorkers. And that's something you can't afford, because soccer is not a popular sport in this country, and it's definitely not popular in New York. So you can't afford to be the forgotten club of New York City. Orlando, following the same steps of Atlanta. And, if Orlando win this, the Southeast, the future of the Southeast looks good. The future of the MLS in the Southeast looks good, especially when Nashville returns next season. Atlanta, Nashville, Orlando, Charlotte. The future's looking good in the Southeast. But the main thing I want to talk about in this particular monologue is, what if the US Open Cup is a preview of a potential MLS USL Championship merger? What if the MLS and the USL are testing things out? They're using this to see if the two leagues can become compatible. Because look, the MLS wants to continue to expand, but the problem is they keep on the cities that they want to expand to. There's already USL cities there. There's a USL team in Vegas, USL team in Phoenix, San Diego, Sacramento, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Tampa. There's getting ready to be one in New Orleans. There might be one in Baltimore someday. So it just looks and seems like it'll be better if the two leagues merge. Not the entire USL, just the championship division of the USL. And for many years, there were many USL clubs that operated as MLS developmental clubs. And to this day, there still are. The Atlanta United 2s, the Las Vegas Light, the New York Red Bulls 2s, the Loudoun, the LA Galaxy 2. So what if the US Open Cup is showing us that the USL Championship League is not too far behind from the MLS as much as we think? That the only thing that's separating the MLS and the USL Championship League is money. MLS is heavily invested by billionaires, while USL is more so millionaires and thousandaires, if that's a word, and community leaders. And as a result of MLS USL Championship merger, the new league can become the American Premier League. And the teams that will replace the USL Championship League in future US Open Cup competition could be college teams, Big Ten soccer teams, ACC soccer teams. Now, I know when it comes to American college sports, the two dominant sports is gridiron football and basketball, but the Big Ten is the premier college league for Olympic sports. And the ACC is right behind them when it comes to Olympic sports. They're not too far behind. But the problem with the ACC is you can't really trust them because they're at the mercy of their godfather, which is gridiron football. So the ACC may not even exist 10 years from now. However, there can be select schools along the East Coast, like your Virginias, Boston College, those schools that have solid soccer programs. You can allow them to be part of the US Open Cup competition. And maybe even some Pac-12 schools too. You know, the Stanfords, the Cal Berkeleys. It's just a thought. But when I see Sacramento in the US Open Cup semifinals, this is what the USL Championship League needs. And if you're the USL Championship League, every year, from here on out, every year you want a team to be in the semifinals or the finals. Every year. Because USL Championship League, and I'm going to talk more about this next week, it's your job to let Americans know that there's not only one league in this country. That the MLS is not the only league in this country. But there's also another league. And our way of doing business is different from the MLS's way. But you also got to keep this in mind, USL. That when people see USL championship teams and MLS teams going against each other, the gap is not too wide. The gap is not too far behind. Louisville went toe-to-toe with Nashville. Union Omaha, League One. They beat Chicago. They beat Minnesota. So the gap between USL championship is not far. It's not wide between USL Championship and USL League One. And the gap between MLS and USL Championship League, that gap is not wide either. So when people see these teams go against each other, people are thinking, why not merge? Why not merge? And the way business is being done, and the way there's so much conglomeration that's going on in the world, USLU might be facing these type of conversations and potential decisions someday. So just keep that in mind.